Hello, welcome to the Petcast, brought to you by leading pet charity Blue Cross. I'm Emma Barton, and I'm going to be studying my poppy dog all the way through this episode because, well, I think I know what she's telling me, but do I really?
We invite them to live inside our homes with us, and we owe it to them to sort of understand what they're communicating to us.
Becky Skyrme is one of Blue Cross's fabulous team of animal behaviourists, and she'll tell us how to read our pets and communicate with them more effectively. And who better to help Becky out but a man of many animals, pop star turned farmer and my mate JB Gill.
It started with Ginger, and then we added more pigs to the farm. We've rescued cats, we've got obviously our dog, and we've got the chickens as well on top of that.
And this is what we do on the Petcast, have candid conversations around the big issues facing pet lovers like me and you, with some of the UK's leading pet experts who are on hand to give us their best tips, tricks and guidance. JB and Becky, welcome to the Petcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting to be here.
JB, can we actually just say that we haven't seen each other for a few years. The last time we saw each other was in a pressured situation. We did Celebrity MasterChef together, and it was a disaster for me. But
we did. Well, you did a much better job than you're letting on, but it was tough. You're very right.
It was so tough, and it was just so lovely to see you again. We've just got to talk about this, though. Your famous, massive, huge pop star, jacking that in, all those lovely glamorous outfits for a pair of wellies as a farmer.
Yeah, quite literally.
I love this. What prompted the change?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's always been, I guess, a part of, me. I wanted to have sort of, my own green space and just be, away from everything, especially because I've always, home's always been a nice place to relax for me. Even when I was growing up and stuff, home was like a safe haven, which I think it is for a lot of people. As you can imagine, I was busy all the time, traveling all over, and didn't get to spend that much time at home. And when I did, finally move here, my mum said to me, make sure you buy the land. So we've got about 11 acres of farmland here. And to be honest with you, it was a headache from day one. I didn't have a clue what to do with it. I was hardly here to look after it. And it was something that really frustrated me because I was like, we've got this great space, but what can I do with it? So that was kind of how the discussion about farming started. And literally we've not looked back since. We had literally rescued our first animal from the RSPCA, Ginger, who was our pig. I was on the look for a dog because I think rescuing is a great thing to do, and I'm sure we'll get onto that a bit later on. And my dad got talking to the guys that were looking after the shelter, and he ended up, signing himself up for a pig, literally. So obviously, that, as I say, that was how it started with Ginger, and then since then it's just spiraled. We added more pigs to the herd and so on to the farm. We've rescued cats. We've got obviously my dog Nala. So there's been lots of developments over the years.
What a great sound it must be in your back garden. All those noises of all those animals, I would love it. Becky, again, so lovely to have you here. You're one of Blue Cross's animal behaviourists. What's the best bit about your job?
Where do I start? I'm lucky to do something that I feel very, very passionately about. So no day is a work day, I guess, but it's the best bits are rehabilitating pets that come into our care, perhaps that have got behaviour problems, and matching them with new owners, much like you guys have experienced that rehoming, and also helping people keep their pets, so preventing them from coming into us in the first place and trying to help owners better understand their pets and educating them on their needs and any sort of working through any sort of problems that they might have so that they can keep them and maintain that relationship.
Let's talk about understanding, like we said, of what our pets are saying and how they communicate. Animal behaviour is something we're learning about all the time. I guess there are clues, like I think, when Pops wags her tail or barks, that she's saying something. But what do we need to know? What should we be looking out for?
Animal behaviour is a relatively sort of new thing, I guess, and there's degrees in it now. That's what that's what I studied to be able to do what I do now, and it's just helping us understand our pets much better. I think that in terms of pet ownership, it's really important that we understand what our dogs and cats and other small animals are telling us. That we invite them to live inside our homes with us, and we owe it to them to sort of understand what they're communicating to us.
JB, can you tell what Nala wants from the way she barks?
Yeah, I can. It's really funny because I think if you're not tuned into it and you're not paying attention to it, you just miss it. Nala isn't, maybe it's her breed, but she's not a dog that will bark very easily, or often, should I say. So when she barks, you do have to take notice. And I think because of that, it's made us, more tuned into, what she's saying, quite literally, and when she's saying it. So, often, as an example, sometimes we'll do the ironing or something, or do the hoovering, and I'll leave it in. She's got like a little walkway, which we kind of leave her in at night time, so she can, go, walk up and down if she needs to or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes if I leave the hoover or whatever in that walkway, she'll come and she'll give a bark. And it's a really short, sharp yap. And she just keeps going as if to say, something's not quite right. It's bedtime. I need to go to bed, guys.
That, please?
Let's go. Yeah. Literally. And then, of course, if there's something that sort of alerts her outside or whatever, it's more of a howl. If it's kind of in her, her area, she's got like a hardcore area, which is just outside the back door, she'll literally howl. And you're just like, okay, there's something going on there. Let me check, at least to check it out. And as I say, it took us a long while to get to know that.
Yeah.
But there definitely is this, distinction between the way she barks and how she does it.
Their little language that I think we sort of learn what they're trying to say. It's funny, isn't it? Just like you say, that bark is... Poppy actually barks at me, it's just one bark, and it's usually around 8 o'clock, and that's her telling me, I want to go to bed. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Watching the telly? What are you doing? Reading? What are you doing? I want to go to bed now. Yeah. Becky, what are the other things that dogs do, like to tell us that they're happy? For example, when my mum and dad arrive, if the windows are open and she can smell them coming, she starts to cry. Now, I just think that's an excited, it's Nana and Grandad. She's really excited. Is that happiness?
Yeah, I think like you've both sort of talked about, there are those individual differences, and you definitely get in tune with your own pet, don't you? And their sort of little quirks and ways. But there are certainly some general signs as well to look out for. Anything to do with their body, so tail being a really obvious one. A loose, sweeping, wagging tail from side to side is generally an indicator that a dog is happy, or excited about what's happening. There are other things to look out for as well, like generally sort of an open mouth, relaxed sort of face, and generally sort of ears up, as opposed to the opposite side of that. So things to look out for that might mean that a dog is uncomfortable or fearful of a certain situation. They will sort of shrink themselves, so their ears will go down, their tail will go down, and it'll be tucked under their body perhaps, or a very sort of high, sharp tail wag is sort of arousal, or maybe sort of anticipating something that they're not really sure about. But I think for sure in that context, like you say, where poppies can probably they're so good, aren't they, at recognizing sort of cars and footsteps and scent, obviously, as well as a massive thing for dogs. So I think you're right in that context. That crying, that whining is sort of anticipation of meeting someone that she really, really likes. So yeah, they've all got their little individual differences, but those sort of very general body language sort of signals are the things to look out for that will tell you how your dog's feeling.
There you go, Mum and Dad. The Poppy dog does actually like you. What about when their tail goes down? I don't know if Nala does this, but if I have to leave Poppy to go to work or out or something and her tail goes down, and I hate that. It makes me feel terrible.
yeah, it is sort of, again, anticipating something that maybe she doesn't enjoy. So you leaving, if she's got a great relationship with you, dogs are very social. They like to be with us. So for sure, all of those cues, all of those things that you do, picking up keys, putting on shoes and coat, she'll know what that means. She knows that's, what you do before you leave. So she knows what's coming next, and it's not something that she feels great about. So, she's communicating that in her body by, as you say, tucking her tail, perhaps ears down. You might see the whites of her eyes as well, sort of looking up at you, that typical guilty look that owners describe, but it is actually what we call an appeasement behaviour. So, I'm not sure about what's happening next. That's what she's sort of saying.
And is it a good idea? Because I've read as well that coming back into the house, I mean, I don't leave her for very long. She does have a bit of separation anxiety, so she's always with me, really, or mum and dad. But when I do come in, I used to make a massive fuss of her, like, I'm home and stuff. Is that a good idea?
It is something that you'll probably read a lot about, don't make a bit of a fuss of her when you come back. And the theory behind it is that, if you're making you being there a lot more fun and a lot more exciting than when you're not there, then she'll enjoy you being gone less, I suppose. But right. It's really about trying to, in Poppy's case, or any dogs that struggle with being left, teaching them that actually being on your own is okay. You will survive, you'll cope. And it's just about increasing the time incrementally, almost so she doesn't even notice, so that she just gets used to being away from you for periods of time.
And JB, you've got, did you say you fostered cats as well?
Yeah, we've got cats as well. So we've got one cat at the moment, Shadow she's called, because we literally never ever see her. But it's funny because, I mean, obviously all the cats that we pretty much rescue are feral cats or semi-feral cats. So the cats, having had that life, aren't always suited to going into family environments. But of course, they for me, I still believe they have a purpose, and they still have a job that they naturally do. I remember we've rescued quite a few over the years, and I suppose our favourite has been Phantom. And Phantom was one of the first that, in fact, I think was the first that we'd rescued. And when he came, literally, I was scared to put food into his crate. He would hiss. He would try and swipe. Honestly, and I'm not the biggest fan of cats, if I can say that. So I was already on edge. And I just remember thinking to myself, please, can this, I think it's 3 weeks they recommended for, to stay. And I was just like, please, can I just let him out? Because it's just too much. And when we did, he was off. We didn't see him. But then probably over, I'd say, the course of about 6 months, of course, just having that regular interaction, food every day, of course, water every day. Yeah, and seeing us about. He literally went from vanishing every single time that you came down to to sort of see him, or clearing out his litter tray, whatever, to coming up, and I obviously still on edge because I'd remembered that those first interactions. And I was very on, as I say, I was on edge because we had Ace, and Ace was probably maybe 18 months at the time. And he was quite advanced because he started walking really early. He's about 9 or 10 months when he started walking. Wow. So you've got this tiny little baby, basically, walking around the farm, wanting to do what daddy's doing, all that sort of stuff. And then the cat was becoming a lot more friendly. And I, as I say, don't have a lot of experience with cats. So I was just like, I'm not sure about, how this partnership's going to go.
Worried.
But I promise you, yeah, very worried.
Yeah.
But in about 6 to 8 months, if I told you that, like, Ace could call Phantom, this is at 18 months, call him, he'd come over, tell him to jump up, he'd jump up. He had a little sort of motorized, car that, a little electric Mercedes kind of thing, whatever, that we charge up. He'd tell him to jump up, come up. He'd jump onto the bonnet of that, and they'd be driving around together. And you wouldn't believe the difference in him from when we first got him to those moments where, honestly, it was like he was Ace's dog.
What would have been the change, Becky? What would have happened? Was he used to the environment, or?
It's something that we see a lot actually at Blue Cross. So cats, they get a lot of security from their environment. So they're not like dogs, that they get security from humans and company. Cats, it's all about their environment. And when you take them from somewhere that they're very familiar and put them somewhere completely new, their instinct is to withdraw. It's to be up high. That's where they feel safe, and assess the situation from there, but before they're even able to start building that relationship with people, that comes sort of second, which is so different to what we used to with dogs. So it's about, adjusting to that new environment. And what JB is describing there, if cats aren't given, if you're sort of encroaching on that space where they've retreated to, that's when they can show those sort of signs of, swiping out, or, even trying to bite, hissing, all of those signals that say, stay away, I'm really scary. And that's because Phantom was just so frightened, to be in this new place. And once they've adjusted, once they realize that it's okay, and they put their scent down, cats live in a world of scent. So once everything starts to smell like them, once they've assessed the situation and settled in, you can see this almost like overnight change, where cats in our cattery, they will hide for, months. And then just one day you'll go in and they'll just be out around, rubbing around you, wanting fuss.
So it could just happen overnight then.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It doesn't, it's not a time frame. It can just be like, no, we know we're settled now. I know what's happening.
Yeah.
And so, I suppose perseverance, and thank goodness you did, and just let Phantom get on and do, its thing.
It's the same with Shadow now, as I say. We called her Shadow because literally we didn't see him. And we, Ace is older now, so he's almost 6. So he was just like, obviously excited because he's remembering Phantom and the stories that we've told him about that, and thinking, great, we've got a new cat and we're going to have those sorts of interactions. But, she is still doing the vanishing act at the moment. But that said, even over the last sort of few weeks, and even over the last year, we've obviously been at home, lockdown, so on and so forth. So, every time I put food out for her, she's actually not as far away as she used to be.
Right.
And so she'll linger, and then there's times when she'll obviously go, and perhaps haven't done it quite yet for the day, and she'll go and she'll be hanging outside, and then obviously I turn up and she'll go in, and before she'd literally disappear and you wouldn't see her, you wouldn't know where she'd gone. Now she'll go away, but she'll stand and watch, because she obviously anticipated I'm going to put food and water and whatever else. And then she'll wait until I go. And now I can literally stand maybe by the gate or wherever else and watch her and be within maybe 20 or 30 yards. Whereas before, as I say, if I was still standing there, she just wouldn't, no chance.
Wouldn't come. So do you think that's now a sign that she's saying she loves you?
I think so. I think she's warming up. She's at least saying, I like the area that I'm in.
Yeah. She says, and you bring food every time.
I want to come for cuddles. Exactly. You know what it's like, Becky.
Yeah, you're not so bad after all.
So what do you do because I don't have cats, but we like to cuddle and pick up and stroke and give attention, but obviously animals don't do that. So when do you know that that's going to be the right time?
With cats, once they are very much established and comfortable in their environment, that's when you can start sort of building a relationship with them. And I guess they like dogs as well, they come on a spectrum, if you like, of friendliness, and that will be depending on their genetics and their experience with people. So JB's cats, as he said, have had limited exposure to people. They're very much live on the periphery, do the job that they do, and people are very much functional. They bring food and water, and they're comfortable around, but not necessarily lap cats. And then you get your, certainly your posh breeds that are a lot more sort of friendly. A lot, lap cats like to be around people a lot more. So, although, breed may be a factor, there are lots of things within the experience of very early, when they're kittens, what's their experience with people and how much time do they spend with people and how comfortable they are. But with all animals, it's about giving the choice to them, letting them approach us for fuss, and cuddling, and that real action of, being really close and cuddling is actually a primate behavior. That's something that we enjoy. That's not something that dogs and cats, especially being a solitary species, dogs are social, so they do enjoy hanging out with us and being with us, and they do enjoy fuss, and sitting with us on the sofa and things. But cuddling is very much a primate behaviour, so it depends on how much exposure and how used to your dog is to that kind of interaction. But it can be quite worrying for some dogs and cats, just sort of being captured almost, with no sort of option to move away, just because that's what we enjoy. It doesn't mean that's what they necessarily enjoy.
Do they understand us smiling to them?
That's a good question. Certainly,
good question.
Certainly, there's studies on it actually, and certainly dogs, they're so long domesticated, with us that they're really in tune with our body language as well. Certainly better than what we are at reading theirs, I think. So, yeah, certainly they will see you smiling, and your body language will be very relaxed. So they'll know that you're relaxed, and a lot of owners will describe dogs, comforting them, if you're upset. So they'll notice a change in your behaviour, and they'll come next to you and they'll want to be with you. So yeah, they certainly pick up on our emotions as well by our body language and what we're doing.
And our words and the way we say them. I think,
definitely.
Well, I mean, you must notice that, JB. You've got your pigs, your chickens, your turkeys. Do you think being with them every day and feeding them, sorting them out daily, it helps you read them better?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think it's definitely with the pigs, of course, we'll interact with them pretty much every single day, and you definitely can pick up what they're like just by watching and just seeing how they do certain things, how they interact with each other, how they interact with you. And I think, of course, like you said, your body language and the way that you do things definitely, filters out and filters down to them as well. And they're able to respond to that. And, of course, I see that mostly with Nala. She'll know when I mean come. You know what I mean? And it's more of a, not a panicked come, but you know what I mean? It's a bit like when you see a child doing something that is super dangerous, and you're shouting at them, but you're not shouting at them to tell them off. You're shouting at them to alert them,
warn them,
or a person. Yeah, and she knows when I if I do that kind of come, it's immediate. There's no questions asked. She could be 100 meters away, she just comes straight away.
That's good training, Becky.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. As I say, she has her moments, but I think, as I say, my body language is obviously high alert, and as you say, they can pick that up from much better and much further away than we can as humans.
Do you have any small animals, any pets like rabbits or anything like that?
No, not yet. I think
not yet.
Well, of course, you've got little people in the house, haven't we? So I'm sure they'll be on us for something or the other in a couple of years. But yeah, no, not yet. I wouldn't say no. To be honest, I'd definitely say, as they get old enough, a gerbil or a hamster or something like that, I'm sure wouldn't go amiss.
And how do you recognise their emotions, Becky, like a rabbit or a hamster?
Yeah, it's a good question, because they're so different to cats and dogs, because they don't live alongside us. They're normally in hutches or in hamsters' case, cages. But again, they've got their own sort of repertoire, of expressing how they feel, and a lot of that with those sort of small animal prey species is that natural behaviours that they display. So digging, burrowing, grazing, and rabbits. I don't know if either of you have had rabbits, but binkying in rabbits is one of the cutest things you'll see if you YouTube it. You'll lose an evening.
Why? Why?
So it's again a sign that a rabbit is feeling very happy and content in their environment. So they'll go most of the time all 4 feet off the floor in the air. Sort of some of them spin, and it's very, very cute. And there's a similar thing in guinea pigs as well. Again, Google it, or YouTube it, popcorning. And in the same way, they sort of jump up and make very, very cute noises. And again, you don't see those kind of behaviours unless they're very, very happy and content. So yeah, something to.
I had never heard of that. And see, this is why it's Brilliant. We get all these tips from these professionals that know what they're talking about. Oh, definitely. Oh, that's so cute. I mean, my hamster just used to just get in her ball and just roll. And I just thought she was happy then, but it's not spinning and jumping and doing backflips. Watching too many of your JLS videos.
Probably, yeah. Taking lessons directly from Aston.
Here's a question. Is it possible for animals to display introverted and extroverted behavioural characteristics like humans? Gosh, that was a sentence, wasn't it?
Yeah, so in the same way that, as you say, that us as humans, we vary in how social we are. Some of us, the idea of walking in a pub and chatting to everyone, at the bar is our worst nightmare. And then for other people, that's, that's their bag, that's what they enjoy. And certainly dogs as a social species are the same. And like we've sort of discussed earlier, that will depend largely on their genetics. That will depend on their experience and, what they're exposed to when they were puppies. But yeah, they definitely are on this spectrum. And I think sometimes dog owners especially sort of feel this need when they've got a dog to go down the park and hang out with lots of dogs and, chat to other dog owners. And that's a dog's dream, being around a lot of other dogs. But, JB's dog, for example, doesn't enjoy the company of every dog that Nala comes across. And that's, I would say, quite normal. It's quite not rare, but there are dogs that do prefer their own company or the company of their owners, as opposed to hanging out with lots of different dogs or just a handful of dogs, that they know well, that they walk with regularly. That's sort of, So they definitely sort of all fall on this spectrum somewhere in the same way that people do.
And actually going back to socialising, things like taking my dog to a pub, she's not interested in that. And if anyone comes to the table, like a waiter or a barman, clear the table, she barks. She doesn't enjoy that. Is that just because she doesn't know those people and she just thinks you're too near my mum? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of pressures on dogs now, I think, to do the things that we do. More and more I'm seeing dogs in towns and in shopping, malls and things. I mean, it's lovely that we're able to do these things with our dogs and, we can take them out to dinner and things like that now. But absolutely, again, there are dogs that will enjoy that experience, that are happy, greeting other people, and being surrounded by lots of unfamiliar people. But like in Poppy's case, it's not for every dog, and it can be quite overwhelming, and lots of different people coming to the table, leaning over, lots of unusual smells, potentially other dogs around, that can be quite overwhelming for some dogs. And those sort of, behaviours that we talked about at the beginning, the sort of flattening of the ears, the tail tucking, if they're generally quite, sort of making themselves quite small, then the chances are your dog's not enjoying that experience. And I think, we should sort of question whether we're doing it because we want them there rather than they want to be there themselves, whether they would choose to be there.
I must say, I shouldn't say it, but it's been my favourite podcast so far because I just find it fascinating, and you two are just brilliant, and I've got to come and visit your farm, JB, please. I want to see the turkeys and the piggy pigs too, and obviously give Nala a cuddle.
Yeah.
But to sum up this episode today, what would your top tips be, please, Becky, to communicate more effectively with your pet?
So I don't think as pet owners, you need to be an expert, but there's so much out there now, certainly, on our website about body language, what to look out for. And I think, just knowing the basics can help you understand your pet much better. And sort of learning about them as an individual, what do they enjoy? When you know what to look out for, you can sort of see what might be sort of making them a bit fearful, what they're a bit worried of, and equally what they enjoy, and you can really sort of tap into that. And I think when you know your dog as an individual, it's quite magic to watch an owner and a dog, certainly a dog train, but a cat too, so I think understanding them and having those foundations can really help build that relationship.
Any top tips from you, JB?
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose I've got two big ones.
Oh, go on.
Time.
Yes.
I think time we all know time heals a lot, and it, just as in human relationships, I think time that you can spend with any animal, is only going to improve your relationship with them, only going to improve that bond that you can build. Like we've said, my personal experiences with Phantom and some of our other cats, all of our animals really, with the pigs especially, over time they've just come into their own, and it's like Becky said, I didn't know, it's because they're more familiar with their environment and stuff like that, and I'm no expert, that's for sure, but I've clearly seen the changes and how they've developed and how they've come on. And then the other one is love. I think again, love conquers all. So it's again very true for human relationships, for personal relationships, and exactly the same for them. We rescue pretty much all of our chickens from the British Hen Welfare Trust, but when they're there, it's just heartbreaking when you see like they've got no feathers. They literally look like they've been battered and just left, like no care at all. And of course they come onto the farm, we give them straw in their literally love. You give them straw, you give them food, you give them water, give them corn, a bit of a treat, and you just spend a bit of time with them, and you see how much they come. Within a couple of weeks, they're full of feather again, and they're just relaxed. And for me, as I say, love is a huge tool, I believe, in getting to understand and communicate better with our animals.
Well, you're a bloomin' lovely man yourself, I must say. Darling.
Thanks, Emma.
And I have loved, talking of love, having you both today on the Petcast, because you've just been a joy. Thank you so much, JP and Becky. That's it for this Petcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it with a fellow pet lover, and click follow or subscribe to get the latest episode on your phone when it's ready. For more information about everything we've talked about, go to bluecross.org.uk/Petcast. I'm Emma Barton, and the Petcast is a Bengo media production for Blue Cross.